Imagine a CEO standing tall in front of thousands, boasting about power and success, until a janitor stepped forward, placed his mop aside, sat at a piano, and played Chopin so beautifully that the room fell silent. In that moment, titles disappeared. What remained was pure human brilliance. Today, I want to talk about that moment, when greatness comes from where we least expect it. We live in a world obsessed with hierarchy. From the moment we step into school, we are conditioned to accept the idea that ability rises with titles, that intelligence climbs alongside promotions, and that talent somehow sits in the offices located on the top floors of buildings. Corporate structures, academic systems, and even social expectations convince us that greatness belongs to those who wear suits, hold degrees, or possess authority. But the truth, often forgotten, often ignored, is that talent has never depended on rank, salary, or status. Talent does not ask for your job title before it chooses you. It does not wait for an appointment letter or an organizational chart to decide who should carry it. It lands where it wishes, in the hands of the janitor, in the heart of the secretary, in the mind of a laborer, in the creativity of a driver, or in the passion of someone society barely notices. And when given a moment to emerge, it can silence the most powerful people in the room. The story of the janitor playing Chopin is a living metaphor for this truth. The CEO, like many leaders, assumed that brilliance belonged to those in senior roles. It never crossed his mind that someone hired to clean the hallways might carry a skill that could outshine professional musicians. And why would it? Years of conditioning teach us to categorize people by their profession, not their potential. We learn to greet the CEO with respect and the janitor with indifference. We assume one has power and the other has none, simply because of their roles. But the piano performance shattered that illusion instantly. This is not just a story about music. It is a reminder that every workplace, every society, and every community is filled with individuals whose talents are hidden beneath the surface, buried under responsibilities, overshadowed by circumstances, or simply unnoticed because no one cared to look. A janitor may be a brilliant pianist, a driver may be a poet, a receptionist may be an engineer who never got the chance to study further, a waiter might be an entrepreneur in the making, a gardener may have the mind of a philosopher. The problem is not the lack of talent in the world. The problem is the lack of recognition. We do not create enough spaces where people feel safe to express their abilities. Many individuals hide their gifts because society tells them, directly or indirectly, that their background disqualifies them from dreaming bigger. They get trapped in labels assigned to them: worker, cleaner, helper, support staff, labels that diminish the world's ability to see their true capabilities. And yet, if history has taught us anything, it is that genius emerges from unexpected places. Some of the greatest scientists, thinkers, and artists came from poverty, hardship, or obscurity. But their circumstances did not define their brilliance. Similarly, in modern workplaces, groundbreaking ideas can come from the bottom of the hierarchy as easily as from the top. Innovation is not owned by the executives. Creativity does not exist only in boardrooms. Excellence is not confined to salaries. What separates those who succeed from those who remain unseen is often not talent itself, but opportunity. The janitor in the story did not suddenly become talented the moment he touched the piano. He had carried that gift for years. But until the CEO Careless challenge created an opening, the world had no idea. This is exactly how talent works. It stays hidden until the right moment arrives, or until someone offers a chance. Imagine how many such moments we miss every day simply because we fail to recognize the humanity, the depth, and the potential of the people around us. Sometimes, all it takes is a question: what else are you passionate about? Sometimes, all it takes is curiosity rather than assumptions. And sometimes, all it takes is respect, genuine respect, for every individual, regardless of job or background. Organizations that understand this principle flourish. Companies that look beyond job titles discover internal treasures they never knew existed. Leaders who genuinely listen, who invite ideas from everyone, who believe that brilliance can come from anywhere. These are the leaders who unlock innovation, inspiration, and loyalty. When talent is allowed to breathe, when it is given a platform, it transforms not only the individual, but also the environment. It reminds everyone that titles are temporary, but abilities are timeless. That a job can describe what a person does, but it will never describe who a person is, and that hierarchy may control workflow, but it should never control respect. Talent does not come dressed in a suit. It comes dressed in humanity. It does not speak the language of power. It speaks the language of passion. It belongs not to the elite, but to the driven. And whether it lives in a janitor playing Chopin or a CEO who once struggled on his journey, its value is the same. Talent is the one thing in this world that refuses to bow down to rank. It rises where it chooses, shines when allowed, and proves, again and again, that greatness is not a title, it is a truth. One of the most persistent mistakes humans make, often unconsciously, is judging the worth, intelligence, or capabilities of others based solely on what they do for a living or how they appear on the outside. We like to believe we are fair, open-minded, and progressive, but deep inside, society has planted biases that whisper to us constantly. Certain jobs equal respect, certain clothes equal value, and certain appearances equal capability. And these biases influence more of our decisions and interactions than we care to admit. When you look at a person wearing a suit, you automatically assume professionalism. When you see someone wearing a uniform and holding a mop, you may assume they have limited skills or education. But these assumptions are not reflections of truth. They are reflections of conditioning. They are reflections of a world that teaches us to label people before we learn anything about them. The story of the janitor who stunned everyone by playing Chopin exposes how wrong those assumptions can be. In that room before he sat at the piano, he was invisible, a background character in a corporate event. People saw the uniform, not the human being inside it. They saw the mop, not the musician. They saw the role, not the story. And yet, within him lived a level of skill that could silence an entire hall and shake the CEO ego in a matter of minutes. This is exactly why judging people by their jobs or appearances is not only unfair, it is deeply ignorant. Every human being is a universe of experiences, hidden talents, silent battles, dreams postponed, skills abandoned, and passions waiting for light. But because society places value on certain roles and ignores others, we miss out on discovering the depth in people we pass every day. Consider this: a person working as a janitor might be doing so to support a family, pay for their child's education, or survive circumstances beyond their control. Maybe they immigrated from a country where they were a teacher, an engineer, or an artist. Maybe they were once a student who couldn't continue school due to financial constraints. Or perhaps they are simply working an honest job while pursuing their passion late at night. None of these possibilities can be seen by looking at a uniform. Yet they exist everywhere in countless people whose stories remain unheard because no one bothered to ask. Judging someone by their job is like judging a book by its cover while being completely unaware of the masterpiece hiding inside. A job does not define intellect, it does not define creativity, it does not define character. It only defines the task someone is currently performing, not the potential they hold. Workplaces often suffer because of this unconscious bias. Employees in lower, ranked positions are rarely asked for input, even when they are the ones who observe problems and opportunities most closely. When you judge people by hierarchy, you silence voices that could contribute to innovation. When you judge by rank, you miss wisdom. When you judge by appearance, you miss the brilliance beneath. Think about how many ideas, solutions, or talents remain buried simply because someone was never given the respect that would allow them to speak. Imagine the driver who may have the mindset of a strategist. Imagine the cleaner who may have design instincts. Imagine the receptionist who may have leadership qualities stronger than the manager above them. Talent does not announce itself through clothing or titles. It announces itself only when someone is allowed to show what they can do. To truly understand why judgment is so dangerous, you must realize how it limits both sides. It limits the person being judged by denying them opportunities, dignity, and recognition. It limits the person doing the judging by blinding them to potential, beauty, intelligence, and human depth. What would happen if we approached every person, regardless of their job, with curiosity instead of assumptions? What if, before forming an opinion, we asked questions? What if we chose to see people as human beings first and workers second? What if the CEO in the story had taken the time to talk to his employees at all levels? He might have discovered that the janitor was a gifted pianist long before that night. The shock would not have existed, but the appreciation would have. Judgment shuts doors. Respect opens them. A world running on respect is a world where talent can surface naturally, where people feel valued beyond their roles, and where workplaces transform into communities instead of hierarchies. And here lies a profound truth. People remember how you treat them far longer than they remember what job they had. Kindness lasts, respect lasts, humility lasts, titles never do. When we stop judging based on roles or appearances, we begin to see the world more clearly. We begin to notice the extraordinary in the ordinary. We begin to value contribution instead of status. We begin to appreciate effort instead of labels. And most importantly, we begin to connect as human beings, equal in dignity, equal in potential, and equal in worth. Your job may describe what you do, but it will never describe who you are. And the same is true for everyone you meet. Every human being you meet, whether in a workplace, on a street, in a shop, or sweeping a hallway, carries within them a story so deep, so layered, and so complex that you could never fully understand it just by looking at them. We often move through life seeing people as roles, not as individuals. We see the janitor, the clerk, the driver, the helper, the waiter, the security guard, but rarely do we pause to consider the life behind the uniform, the journey behind the face, or the dreams behind the eyes. Human beings are like books with covers society often judges too quickly. But if you were to open those pages, even for a moment, you might discover chapters filled with brilliance, hardship, sacrifice, love, heartbreak, passion, or talent. Everyone carries a hidden story. Some choose to hide it, some are forced to bury it, and some are simply never asked about it. The janitor who stunned the CEO by playing Chopin is the perfect illustration of this truth. Before he touched the piano, people saw a simple worker. They assumed his life story was plain, ordinary, perhaps even unimpressive, but that assumption vanished the moment his fingers met the keys. In an instant, the room realized they had been looking at him, but never seeing him. His story, his years of practice, his lost opportunities, his passion for music, his quiet brilliance, all came alive in the melody, and everyone understood that there was far more to him than the job he performed. But this is not just his story. It is the story of millions of people around us. The woman working as a receptionist may have once been a top student who sacrificed her education to support her family. The man driving a cab might hold a degree in engineering, but never found the opportunity to use it. The young god outside your office may write poetry that could shake your heart. The waiter at your favorite restaurant might be learning 3 languages in hopes of studying abroad. The shopkeeper could be caring for a sick parent and working double shifts to survive. The street vendor might be supporting siblings through school, carrying more responsibility than many adults in corporate offices. But because the world rarely looks beyond the surface, these stories remain untold. We often forget that every person is shaped by unseen experiences, childhood circumstances, cultural pressures, failures that taught them strength, dreams they still cling to, and battles they fight silently every day. But since we never take the time to listen, we act as if these hidden chapters do not exist. A simple conversation could reveal that someone you underestimated is deeply knowledgeable. A moment of attention could reveal that someone you ignored has extraordinary potential. A bit of patience could reveal that someone you judged too soon has skills far beyond what their current life allows them to show. This is why humility and curiosity are the foundations of human connection. When we recognize that every person carries a hidden story, we stop treating people based on their roles and start treating them based on their humanity. We begin to shift from assumptions to understanding, from stereotypes to empathy, from arrogance to respect. Understanding that everyone has a hidden story also transforms the way we lead. Great leaders listen. Great leaders observe. Great leaders understand that the quietest person in the room may carry the loudest wisdom. They know that potential often goes unnoticed unless someone intentionally makes space for it to be seen. They realize that the best ideas, insights, or innovations can come from someone who has never been given permission to speak. And this principle applies not only to professional environments, but also to everyday life. We judge too quickly and too harshly. We see a person's behavior but not their struggle. We see their mistakes but not their attempts. We see their current situation but not their sacrifices. We see their job but not their journey. Imagine how different the world would be if people were valued not for their status or appearance but for the stories they carry. Imagine if workplaces encouraged employees to share their passions, their skills, their creative sides. Imagine if society learned to uplift rather than categorize. Imagine if we all practiced the simple act of asking, "What's your story?" instead of deciding it for them. When you understand that every person has a story you know nothing about, you begin to treat people with more patience, more kindness, and more compassion. You stop assuming that success reflects superiority and struggle reflects failure. You start seeing humanity, not hierarchy. And perhaps most importantly, you begin to appreciate the beauty of diversity. Not diversity in appearance alone, but diversity in experience, in dreams, in struggles, and in strengths. Every story adds richness to the world. Every hidden journey adds meaning. Every unseen talent adds potential. The janitor's story became visible through music. Others may reveal their stories through words, through actions, through quiet resilience, or through small moments of courage. And sometimes, their stories may never be known, but they still exist, shaping the person in front of you. This is why you must never underestimate anyone. You never know what life they've lived, what hardships they've endured, what talents they possess, what dreams they hold, or what greatness lies just beneath the surface waiting to be seen. Because behind every person you meet, no matter how ordinary they may appear, there is an extraordinary story hidden inside them. True leadership has never been about authority, titles, or the corner office. It has never been about who speaks the loudest, who earns the most, or who commands the greatest number of people. Leadership, in its purest and most powerful form, is built on humility, the ability to see value in others, to recognize your own limitations, and to understand that respect is not something demanded, but something earned through character. In the story of the janitor and the CEO, this lesson becomes unmistakably clear. The CEO, standing at the top of the corporate hierarchy, believed his status granted him superiority. His joke about, "If anyone can play Chopin better, I'll marry them," was an extension of ego, a belief that talent and brilliance existed only within certain circles. But when the janitor played, the CEO was forced into a moment of humility. In that silence, he realized that leadership is not about assuming you know everything. It is about being open to learning from anyone, even from those you never expected. Humility in leadership is not weakness. It is strength, because it allows leaders to grow, adapt, and improve. A leader who believes they already know everything stops learning the moment they reach their position. But a humble leader remains curious, open-minded, and receptive. That openness creates room for innovation, stronger relationships, and a healthier work environment. One of the most common problems in toxic workplaces is leaders who refuse to listen. They believe that ideas only matter if they come from someone with a high-ranking title. They overlook suggestions from junior employees. They dismiss insights from workers on the ground. They consider feedback a challenge to their authority rather than a pathway to improvement. Such leaders create a culture where people feel afraid to speak up, where hidden talents stay hidden, and where potential innovation dies before it ever has a chance. Humility reverses all of that. A humble leader asks questions instead of giving orders. A humble leader listens more than they speak. A humble leader acknowledges mistakes rather than hiding them. A humble leader recognizes that good ideas can come from any corner of the organization. A humble leader values people, not positions. When leadership is rooted in humility, the workplace transforms. Employees feel seen, heard, and respected. They develop the confidence to share their creativity and ideas. They take ownership of their work because they know their contributions matter. And importantly, they feel loyalty, not forced by fear but inspired by admiration. Humility also helps leaders build stronger human connections. No one wants to follow someone who appears arrogant or disconnected. People naturally gravitate toward leaders who are approachable, empathetic, and kind. A humble leader does not build walls around themselves with their power. Instead, they build bridges that allow communication, trust, and collaboration to flow naturally. Another essential aspect of humility is the recognition that leadership is service. A true leader serves their team, supports their growth, and removes obstacles that stand in their way. They do not seek to be the hero of every story. Instead, they strive to make their employees the heroes. They do not chase credit, they chase results and impact. They do not crave recognition, they crave progress and unity. In contrast, a leader without humility becomes blind to the realities around them. They may overlook the morale of their team, ignore the struggles of their employees, and misunderstand the true strengths and weaknesses of their organization. Their ego becomes a barrier, blocking feedback, obscuring problems, and driving away talented people who do not feel appreciated. Humility also encourages leaders to reflect on their own journey. Every CEO was once a beginner. Every manager once struggled to learn. Every leader once depended on the guidance of others. When leaders remember where they came from, it becomes easier for them to empathize with those still climbing the ladder. They stop seeing lower-ranked employees as less important and start seeing them as essential parts of the system. Furthermore, humility fosters resilience. A leader with humility does not crumble when they are proven wrong. They adapt, adjust, and grow. They do not fear change because they do not tie their self-worth to the illusion of always being right. Instead, they see challenges as lessons and failures as opportunities. This mindset empowers them to navigate crises with clarity and purpose. One of the greatest signs of leadership humility is the ability to give credit and take responsibility. An arrogant leader takes credit when things go well and blames others when things go wrong. A humble leader does the opposite. They shine the spotlight on the team's achievements and take accountability for the team's setbacks. This builds trust, loyalty, and respect. The moment the janitor sat down to play Chopin, the CEO had a choice. He could have reacted with anger, embarrassment, or defensiveness. But humility, if embraced, turns such moments into opportunities. It reminds leaders that they do not stand above others, they stand among them. It reminds them that leadership is not about hierarchy, but about humanity. Ultimately, humility is what separates leaders who are merely obeyed from leaders who are truly followed. A title can make people follow instructions, but only humility can make people follow a vision. A superior position can control people's actions, but only humility can win their hearts. Leadership requires humility because without it, leadership becomes nothing more than authority. But with it, leadership becomes influence, inspiration, and impact, qualities that leave a lasting legacy long after the title is gone. One of the most powerful truths in human development, whether in workplaces, families, or communities, is that people flourish when they are given a chance. Not when they are controlled, not when they are judged, not when they are confined. They shine when someone believes in them enough to offer space, opportunity, and encouragement. Yet this simple truth is ignored far too often. In the story of the janitor who played Chopin flawlessly, the brilliance did not appear magically at that moment. The talent was always there, quiet, humble, hidden beneath layers of routine and responsibility. What changed that night was opportunity, a single moment in which he was allowed to step forward, a single chance for him to express something extraordinary. And when that chance was granted, a man no one noticed suddenly became someone no one could forget. This raises a crucial question. How many people around us are carrying extraordinary abilities that the world never sees simply because they're never given a chance? The answer is more than we can imagine. People rarely shine because they lack talent. More often, they fail to shine because they lack opportunity. Opportunity is like sunlight. Where it is present, things grow. Where it is absent, even seeds with incredible potential remain buried. But the tragedy is that many environments, especially workplaces, are built in ways that unintentionally suppress growth. Companies rely on top-down structures where only a select few are ever allowed to speak, contribute, or lead. Schools often focus only on the top students, while overlooking quieter ones who may simply need encouragement. Families, too, sometimes assign roles to children that keep them from exploring what they are truly capable of. Giving people a chance to shine does not require grand gestures. It begins with simple actions, asking for their ideas, inviting them to contribute, trusting them with responsibility, encouraging them when they feel unsure, allowing them to explore new roles, recognizing small steps, not just big results. Sometimes all it takes is one sentence. I believe you can do this. That sentence has lifted more people than any lecture on success ever has. Many great leaders, innovators, and artists became who they are because someone gave them a chance at the right time. A teacher who saw potential, a mentor who provided guidance, a friend who offered encouragement, a leader who trusted them with something important. These moments of opportunity shape destinies, but imagine the reverse. How many people stay hidden in the shadows because no one ever looked their way? How many employees with creative ideas remain silent because no one asks for their input? How many workers with exceptional skills remain unnoticed because they never get a platform? How many children grow up believing they have no talent simply because they were never encouraged to discover it? When we fail to give people chances, we are not just holding them back, we are holding ourselves back too. Organizations lose innovation, teams lose strength, communities lose diversity, leaders lose trust, families lose connection, and society loses brilliance. In contrast, when opportunities are plentiful, people begin to reveal layers of themselves that even they didn't know existed. They experiment, they grow, they surprise themselves. They move from doubt to confidence, from silence to expression, from uncertainty to courage. A chance is more powerful than praise. Praise recognizes what already exists, but a chance allows something new to emerge. Giving people a chance also requires us to let go of assumptions. A leader who assumes only managers have good ideas will never discover the genius in a junior employee. A teacher who believes only extroverts are intelligent will never see the depth in a quiet student. A society that assumes jobs define capability will never value the hidden talents within ordinary people. Opportunities demand fairness. They require leaders and communities to remove biases and see people as equals, not in job positions, but in potential. Every person has something unique to offer, but they can only contribute if someone opens the door for them. Another aspect of giving people a chance is giving them the freedom to fail. Many times, people refuse to explore their abilities because they fear judgment or punishment if they make a mistake, but no one shines under pressure or fear. They shine when they know they have support. They shine when they are allowed to try, stumble, and try again. This is why the best leaders create environments where experimentation is encouraged. They reward effort, not just outcomes. They offer guidance without micromanaging. They trust their people enough to let them grow, even if growth involves risk. One small chance can change the entire direction of a person's life. One moment of belief can transform self-doubt into confidence. One opportunity can reveal a brilliance the world never knew existed. Think of how different the world would be if more people were given the opportunity to step into their potential. If workplaces allowed every employee, not just the chosen few, to contribute creatively. If classrooms encouraged every child to explore their talents. If society valued passion and ability more than titles and appearances. The Janitor's story teaches us that opportunity is a powerful equalizer. It reminds us that greatness does not belong only to those in the spotlight. It belongs to anyone with talent, passion, and the courage to step forward when given a chance. And the truth is, most people are not waiting for applause. They are just waiting for someone to say, "Go ahead. Show us what you can do." Respect is one of the simplest, most powerful gifts we can offer another human being, yet it is also one of the rarest. People crave respect more than admiration, praise, or even agreement. Respect says, "I see you. I acknowledge your worth. I recognize your humanity." Without respect, relationships weaken, workplaces become toxic, and society loses its sense of unity. But where respect thrives, trust grows, communication strengthens, and human connection flourishes. The story of the janitor and the CEO illustrates this truth in a powerful way. Before the janitor played the piano, few people respected him. They might have been polite, but politeness is not respect. Respect is deeper. It is an attitude, not a gesture. It is how you think about someone, not just how you speak to them. The janitor was invisible to most, noticed only for what he did, not for who he was. But when he sat at the piano and played Chopin with brilliance, he forced the room to confront their own lack of respect. Suddenly, the man they ignored became the man they admired. But respect that appears only after someone proves themselves is not real respect. True respect exists long before someone displays their talent. This is why respect must be unconditional. It must be offered not because of someone's achievements, but because of their intrinsic value as a human being. Everyone deserves respect, not just the successful, the educated, the wealthy, or the powerful. Every person, regardless of rank or role, carries dignity. Respect should never rise with a job title or fall with a uniform. Yet many societies operate on the opposite principle. People respect those above them and neglect those below them. They speak kindly to the manager but dismiss the cleaner. They greet the CEO with enthusiasm and the driver with indifference. This hierarchical version of respect is hollow and hypocritical. It creates emotional distance, reinforces inequality, and prevents genuine human connection. Real respect levels the playing field. It tells the CEO and the janitor, "You are both valuable. You both matter." It acknowledges that though their roles differ, their worth does not. Respect also changes the way we listen. When you respect someone, you listen not just to their words, but to their perspective. You listen not to reply, but to understand. You see value in their ideas, even if they do not match your own. You treat their opinions as meaningful, even if they come from a different background or job position. This kind of respect builds trust and creates environments where people feel safe to express themselves. In contrast, disrespect silences people. When someone feels judged, ignored, or underestimated, they retreat. They stop contributing. They hide their talents. They limit their potential, and the world loses something precious in the process. Respect also influences the way we treat mistakes. When you respect someone, you correct them kindly instead of harshly. You guide them without humiliating them. You separate the action from the person. You focus on improvement, not on blame. This approach encourages growth, strengthens relationships, and builds loyalty. Respect is also deeply connected to empathy. When you respect someone, you try to understand their struggles, their pressures, and their motivations. You see beyond their actions and into their intentions. You recognize that everyone faces challenges, even if those challenges are invisible. This empathy creates bonds that are stronger than any formal relationship. Respect is not just a moral value, it is a practical one. In workplaces, respect improves collaboration, increases productivity, and reduces conflict. Teams built on respect communicate openly, trust each other, and support each other. In families, respect strengthens love and prevents misunderstandings. In society, it builds harmony and reduces division. Respect is the bridge that connects differences, heals wounds, and builds unity. Another profound aspect of respect is that it reflects more about the giver than the receiver. A respectful person is not respectful because others deserve it, but because they themselves value dignity. Respectful behavior reflects character, maturity, and discipline. It says, "I treat you well not because of who you are, but because of who I am." In the story, the CEO likely respected high-ranking individuals but never imagined he could learn something from a janitor. But when the janitor played, the CEO was forced to confront a reality. He had judged the man's worth too quickly. This moment teaches us an important lesson. Respect should be offered even when you know nothing about the person. Because you never truly know who someone is until life gives them a moment to reveal it. Respect turns strangers into allies. It turns coworkers into collaborators. It turns workplaces into communities. It turns conflict into dialogue. It turns uncertainty into trust. Giving respect is easy. It costs nothing, but its impact is immeasurable. A single respectful interaction can lift someone's spirit, restore someone's confidence, or remind someone of their value. And lack of respect can do the opposite. It can break hearts, crush motivation, and create distance. Ultimately, respect is the foundation of every meaningful connection. It is not an optional courtesy. It is a necessity for human relationships to thrive. Whether between leaders and employees, teachers and students, friends and strangers, or parents and children, respect is the glue that holds everything together. And the truth is simple. When respect is present, people shine. When respect is absent, people shrink. Respect brings out the best in everyone, and without it, no title, power, or authority can ever make someone a true leader or a truly great human being. At the heart of this entire story lies a message we often forget in the rush of our busy lives. Greatness does not wear a particular uniform, talent does not belong to a particular class, and dignity does not depend on a job title. The janitor who played Chopin didn't just surprise a CEO. He reminded an entire room, and all of us, of something profoundly human. Every person has value, every soul carries potential, and every individual deserves respect. We must open our eyes to the brilliance hidden in ordinary places. We must open our minds to the possibility that the person we overlook today may teach us the greatest lesson tomorrow. And we must open our hearts to the truth that leadership, humility, opportunity, and respect are not corporate strategies. They are human duties. So the next time you walk past someone society calls ordinary, pause. Look again. You may be standing in the presence of an artist, a genius, a dreamer, a leader, or a person whose story could change your perspective forever. Because in the end, the world does not remember the titles we held, it remembers the humanity we showed. Let us create a world where every person has the chance to shine, where respect is the foundation of every interaction, and where we never forget that talent can rise from anywhere, even from the quiet hands of a janitor who could silence a room with Chopin. That is the world worth building, and that is the message worth carrying forward.